What if I could? What if I could turn back time? I'd make you smile again. And if I could unbreak your heart, and we could start again. Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Hey, how you going? Jay Fallon here. Thanks for listening to the Slippery Slope. So today, when I'm recording this, it's the 10th of October, 2024. I think I can never remember the exact date, but it was in October of 2022 was when I officially left the Queensland Police Service. So 2 years for me since getting out. It's different, interesting. Anyway, I'm talking about this before I get on to the rest of the episode because I just wanted to go through a couple of comments that were made yesterday. I did obviously the episode regarding police in Australia and how they're being stretched to the limit, and I just want to talk about a few things. So one thing which I think it seems has changed in the 2 years since I've left. And I suppose I could see when I look back, I was reflecting, thinking, well, I suppose the writing was on the wall because obviously when in Queensland, where I worked, Katarina, former commish, Katarina Carroll, and that clown MP, um, Mark Ryan, they brought in the mandates. They just ran roughshod over everyone, treated everyone across the board like rubbish. And then you had all the senior officers, towing the line and just enforcing everything, just bullying everything. So you could probably see the writing on the wall back then, that people would be disenchanted, feel disenfranchised from the organization, uh, not supported because obviously the union had basically just stabbed everyone in the back. The union had gone and made a little backdoor deal with QPS and then come out and supported the mandates as well. And if you're like me, I was just sitting there going, "What? How can you do all this? We're paying our fees, we're anyway." So anyway, he made this comment. It was on YouTube from Stratnut7146, because I'd made the comment about how, people really didn't want to just retire at 60. They wanted to keep going. A lot of the guys that I knew that I'd seen over the years. Anyway, Stratnut7146 says, AJ, things have changed drastically with the 60-year retirement, which I was surprised at. He goes on to say, everyone I know, I assume it's a he. Sorry, I didn't even check that out. But everyone I know are counting down to 60. The ones, and there are many that have retired, I know are happy to be out 24 years for me in Queensland, he says. So congratulations on the 24 years. It's a good effort. He said, so people are just, whereas I was just personally, I'm done. He says, yeah, it's very sad to see how things have changed since I joined. Morale is the lowest I've seen. So I suppose when I look back, probably from around 2021, you could see morale was starting to get a bit low. People were feeling the pressure of being forced into that medical mandate, being forced to do something that a lot of officers did not want to do. So some of them could and did take the stance like what I did. But you got to remember that they were forced. You knew you were living under the threat of you're going to lose your money, lose your pay, bang, almost immediately. You had 2 weeks' pay, and then boom, you're cut off. And then it's not like you go out and get another job while you're waiting for QPS and the courts to and lawyers to, come to an agreement. And it's not like you could go and look to the union for support because they'd made a backdoor deal with the police, with the QPS, and screwed their members over. So there was really not much support out there. So when I was reflecting back, I suppose you could see the writing on the wall coming. And it's disappointing to see that things have changed and people are just looking to get out, and there are so many. I mean, their recruitment numbers are still extremely low, and they're still, I believe, I'm led to believe that they're still having double digit exits every week. So and as you can see with all the other states, they're not getting the numbers in, so they're having to look for overseas recruitment. It's going to cause big problems down the track, and that's why they've lowered their standards in so many areas. people that shouldn't be in are getting in anyway. So just wanted to go through those comments, and thanks for all those that made comments. It was a great discussion to see everyone's point of view. Even if I don't agree with all of them, I still read them. It's very interesting to read some of the things that come out. Hey, so today I really want to talk about something, and this kind of relates back to the mandates and everything that happened during COVID. I think, in my opinion, that COVID was used. Well, I think actually COVID was released on purpose anyway. So I believe it was all a plan. There was no pandemic; it was a plan-demic. So, but that time frame was used to experiment on the people. You could see how, especially smaller nations, they that were put into lockdown. It seems like every country had different sets of rules and different things that they were doing for their lockdowns. But here in Australia, okay, we were all on a fairly severe lockdown, but then you could see all the different rules coming in different states, and it was like everyone had a slightly different tweak to the laws that were coming through, different rules that were coming through, and it seemed to me I would be willing to bet that it was all an experiment. They were trying to see how they could control the best instruments that they could use, tactics that they could use to control the people in this situation, what the best plan used would be. And I think they were doing these things, especially in smaller nations like Australia, like New Zealand. Australia is fairly unique, I think, because we've only got uh, it's a fairly large, obviously island continent, but it's a small population, and then it's broken up into only a couple of states and territories. So it's easy, and because we all had slightly different rules and regulations, they could monitor what was going on and how people would react, and that's why I think we all had those slightly different rules, and that's what I think they were doing to us. So I'm reading this article that I'm going to bring up. I'll bring it up for everyone to check out. And I think, please comment if you think I'm wrong, feel free. But I think again, this is just another experiment. This is this is the elites, I suppose, just having an experiment, trying to see how they can control. This is why I think they brought this in. So this headline, this came out, I think it's in September. I've been meaning to talk about it for a while. Because you get over looking at all the stuff with Diddy and the US election and Kamala and how crazy, simple, stupid she is. Speaking of Kamala for a second, uh, I've never seen, was it her teleprompter that got stuck or something? It didn't go off properly and she got stuck on 32, 32 days till the election. 30, and that was so awkward. I was sitting there watching parts of the interview, parts of the speech, the talk, and she gets stuck on 32, and I'm sitting there, I felt embarrassed for her. I'm like, 32, 32. It's anyway, I don't want to say too much about it, but yeah, she's a bit void of intelligence, I'm afraid. This article here, Kuwait banks take bold steps to freeze accounts and halt credit cards. Again, I think this is it's just another little experiment they're doing on a smaller country to see if they can get away with it, to see what, and they'll come out, they'll gather all the data, and then they'll make their tweets and say, well, if we're going to go do the rest of the population, or we'll try it on a bigger country, a bigger population, and then this is how we can tweak it to get better results for them. And this is all leading, I believe, towards the one world government. Okay, so it says this initiative coincides with relevant authorities beginning to rectify the status of individuals whose nationalities have been withdrawn across financial, administrative, and legal sectors. So the Ministry of Interior shared civil numbers of 200 individuals with banks at their request whose nationalities were revoked. This supports a plan to freeze accounts and block withdrawals from Visa and MasterCard cards as preventative measures. The banks will halt financial transfers and balances will be seized to cover loans and obligations until legal status changes. Remember, I'm a Christian. I believe this is all heading to what the Bible describes in both the book of Daniel and in Revelation, specifically Revelation 13. It talks about, you'll have this one world ruler, also his little religious sidekick, but he will insist that everyone must have this mark on them, and you cannot buy, the Bible says, you will not be able to buy or sell unless you have the mark, what it calls the mark of the beast. So you have to have something in place already when this comes around, that it all has to be, all the groundwork has to all be set up so that you can have absolute financial control over people's finances. It already has to be in place. So this is what I think they're getting ready for. So that's why they want to be able to freeze these accounts, hold these credit cards, and see how much they can control, what they can get away with, how they can tweak the system. So it says bank officials have outlined approximately 10 precautionary measures to be implemented in banking transactions involving individuals whose nationalities have been revoked. This includes treating them as bidoon, you know what that means, with expired civil IDs, thereby reducing the risk of defaults in case their borrowers cease payments. Informed sources have revealed to Al Rai newspaper that the Ministry of Interior recently provided banks, upon their request, with the civil numbers of approximately 200 individuals whose nationalities were revoked. This was part of a plan to implement preventative measures against them, including freezing all types of accounts if any were found, and discontinuing their ability to withdraw funds from Visa and MasterCard cards. This initiative coincides with relevant authorities beginning to rectify the status of individuals whose nationalities have been withdrawn across financial, administrative, and legal sectors. They are also issuing personal cards from the central agency to address the situation of illegal residents in accordance with their legal status. The sources reported that the procedures include allowing a request to close the account in exchange for withdrawing balances, while providing the option to negotiate repayments of any loans with a discount rate. Additionally, internal and external financial transfers will be stopped, and an equivalent amount from the balance will be seized against the value of the loans and any obligations. Protective measures will continue until the legal status is modified. It's just an experiment. They're just seeing how much they can get away with, what they can do. It's just about working out how they can control the population and controlling us through finance like this. They goes on and says they indicated the future dealings with the same customer will be based on personal card data, with all possible legal measures taken to reserve guarantees corresponding to the loans in this segment. A discussion was opened about how to handle accounts with withdrawn nationalities open in foreign branches of local banks, with adherence to the laws of each country expected. The source explained that the actions banks will follow form a preventative protocol, because they always tell you, this is for the benefit of for the general public. This is so it's they're trying to map out, this is the benefit, this is the reason we're the good guys here. We're not attacking anyone. This is something that we need to do. They're just controlling. Anyway, so the source explained that the actions banks will follow form a preventative protocol to be applied until the client corrects their situation by obtaining a valid card. If this occurs, their account benefits and future banking interactions will be determined based on their updated data. So that's to me. Okay, you look back at what happened during the COVID pandemic. That was all just an experiment to see how they can control the population, using mandates, using lockdowns, all this kind of thing. Here, Q8, which hasn't got a very big population. They're using small numbers here that they're starting with, but it's just another way of running experiments, seeing how they can control people using financial information, controlling your money that you have access to. Like I said, I think this all comes down to what the Bible says. We are going to have a one world, the world is going to have a one world government. They're going to have this this person rise up and decide, hey, I want to control everyone through financial means. And I think this is just an experiment on a small population to see one way of how they can control you through finances. And I think there's plenty of other things coming up, which is why we're seeing the rise of CBDCs, central banking and all that kind of thing. Let me know what you think. This is all my opinion. I'm Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope.
And say it isn't real, and please don't go away. Just give me one more day. What if I could? What if I could turn back time? I'd make you smile again. And if I could unbreak your heart, and we could start again. What if I could? What if I could turn back time? I'd make you smile again. And if I could unbreak your heart, and we could start again. We could start again. We could start again. We could start again.